Now, the final recording by the Beatles, and then, when exactly is it going to be launched, and what will the finished result sound like? The Beatles are set to release what has been billed as their farewell song on Thursday, after a week of building up to it with various announcements and teasers. Now and Then is the title of the song that has been under development for the past 45 years. John Lennon wrote the song's opening few words in 1978, but the song wasn't completed until this year, 2018. On the song, which will be the last time that Lennon, McCartney, Harrison, and Starr are recognized for working together, all four members of the Beatles can be heard. And in a move that brings the story full circle, it will be issued as a double A-side record alongside their debut song Love Me Do in 1962. The song was written by the Beatles. It is probable that the release of this album will signify the end of a period for the band that is generally regarded as the best in the history of rock music. Where and when can I catch a performance by Now and Then? The song Now and Then will be performed live for the very first time in the United Kingdom on BBC Radio 2 and 6 Music this coming Thursday at 1400 hours Greenwich Mean Time. At the same time, the music will be made accessible through a variety of streaming platforms, including as Apple Music, Spotify, and Amazon Prime Music. The following day, copies will be offered for sale in CD, vinyl, and cassette formats, respectively. In addition, commencing on November 10th, the tune will be included on the newly remastered and expanded editions of the Beatles' greatest hits albums, Red and Blue. Both of these albums have been released by the Beatles. Can you describe the sound it will make? There has existed for some time now a copy of the original demo that has been made available illegally as a bootleg. It is an expression of regret to the person you love in the style of a love song, and it is fairly typical of John Lennon's solo output from the 1970s, in the same vein as Jealous Guy. In the recording studio the previous year, Sir Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr brought it to a fruitful and satisfying end. Giles Martin, the album's producer, contributed a brand new string arrangement, while George Harrison will make a cameo via rhythm guitar parts that he recorded in 1995. Those who have heard the finished track describe it as a profound and emotionally touching meditation on the friendship shared by the members of the band. When was the first edition of Now and Then published? In 1978, John Lennon recorded a recording of vocals and piano at his residence in New York City. The demo was released. This is when the narrative gets started. Yoko Ono, the widow of John Lennon, handed the song to the remaining members of the Beatles after the death of her husband on a tape that also contained early versions of Free as a Bird and Real Love. When those two songs were finally completed and released as singles in 1995 and 1996, it had been 25 years since the Beatles had released anything that could be considered to be new material. The band also made an effort to record Now and Then, but they abandoned on the session pretty shortly after it didn't go as planned. Producer Jeff Lynne recounted how, on a specific day and afternoon, they were merely experimenting with it for the sake of amusement. Due to the terrible condition of the tape, it was ultimately determined that the recording's quality could not be saved in any way. Despite the fact that Harrison was believed to think the idea was absurd, McCartney never gave up on the concept. Is it feasible that the music was finished using some sort of artificial intelligence system? That is accurate, albeit only to a certain degree. During the process of making the documentary named Get Back, which was directed by Peter Jackson, the production business that he is the head of developed a piece of software that allowed them to demix confused recordings of sounds that overlapped one another. This software was used in the making of the film. About a year ago, with the assistance of this technological advancement, the band gave their album, Revolver, a new and updated sound. According to what Giles Martin explained to the BBC, the more information you can offer it with, the better it will get. For example, it needs to figure out how the guitar that John Lennon played sounded. When it came to the song Now and Then, the software was successful in extracting John Lennon's voice from the original cassette tape. This was accomplished by removing the background hiss as well as the hum of the mains power, both of which had hampered prior attempts to finish the song. This allowed for a much smoother and more professional result. According to Paul McCartney, the recording quality of John Lennon's voice on Now and Then is of a very high standard. An eye-opening demonstration of what this implies was offered by a documentary that was shown on Wednesday's program of The One Show. The segment lasted for 15 minutes. The documentary showed how the thin and spectral voice of the 1970s suddenly sounds as though it was recorded in Abbey Road itself. I was wondering whether there was going to be a music video. It is true that Jackson has created a brand new video, and the debut screening is scheduled to take place this coming Friday at 1400 hours Greenwich Mean Time. It will feature footage that has never been seen before, such as a few priceless seconds of the oldest known film of the Beatles, which was donated by the original drummer for the Beatles, Pete Best, and his brother, Rogue Best. Additionally, it will include footage that has never been seen before, such as footage that includes footage that includes footage that includes footage that has never been seen before. Rogue asserted that he bought the silent tape from a man who had captured the band's performance with a Cine camera at St. Paul's Presbyterian Church Hall in Birkenhead in February 1962. Rogue claimed that he bought the movie from the individual. This happened a full 8 months before the band released their first single to the public. In addition, to the best of anyone's knowledge, this video is the only videotape that exists of the band performing while they were clothed in the leather costumes that they wore before they became famous. It is also the sole video from before Pete Best was dismissed and replaced by Ringo Starr in August of 1962, but according to his brother, Pete Best cannot be seen in the clip. This video was shot in 1962. Approximately 6 seconds of the film was utilized by Jackson in the music video for the song Now and Then. The first recording is around 59 seconds long, and it will be on display at Rogue Best's Liverpool Beatles Museum, which can be found in the city of Liverpool. Jackson disclosed in a statement that he has found further unreleased outtakes in the vault of the recording studio. The Beatles may be seen behaving in a manner that is laid back, amusing, and surprisingly open in these outtakes. The humor was included in some film that was shot in the year 2023 by our team. The conclusion is quite ridiculous, and it contributed to the video achieving the much-needed equilibrium between the comedic and dramatic aspects of the story.